Hey guys, it's Kevin Hunt Dermott here, and I'm in our cemetery. Why am I in our cemetery? It's because it's time for another episode of It's Haunted. And in this episode, we're going to take a look at the consequences of not heeding a warning. Let's take a look at this new episode of It's Haunted, and we're calling it Return to the Cemetery.
The horror started one night a few weeks ago. My friend Tommy and I decided to take a midnight walk in the cemetery. It was cold and dark. The wind howled and created a feeling that sent shivers down our spines. We came across a particular tombstone that made us stop in our tracks. Right there in the presence of the full moon night, we heard a blood-curdling groan that made my heart stop and feel as though it jumped into my throat. We abruptly left the cemetery, and Tommy and I didn't speak about what happened as we separated ways. The following night started out peaceful as most nights usually do, but around midnight things began to happen. Things that began to change my life in a way that I could never have fathomed before. I was laying in my bed, but I began to feel an uneasy feeling of dread. I began to feel the hair stand on end, and I was stricken with fear. I felt a cold chill that made my heart stop and feel as though it jumped into my throat. And that was when I heard a familiar sound I had heard only once before. It was that horrific moan I heard the night before in the cemetery. That was the first time I saw the evil that now haunts me. The next day I received a distressed phone call. It was Tommy, and he was terrified. He described being terrified at his house by the same evil woman that visited me. I was shocked by what I had heard from my friend. Tommy's experience only made my own seem more real. The next night I had trouble sleeping. I kept waiting for the horrible woman to appear, but I eventually fell asleep, and was plagued by nightmares. There was a man with a skull painted on his face, and he brought me back to the grave in the cemetery, where this all began. Suddenly I found myself awakened outside in the rain, and I found myself at the cemetery gate. That night I had a visitor at my apartment. I opened the door, and it was Jessica, Tommy's sister. She was extremely distressed. What she told me chilled my bones. She explained that Tommy left his house the night before, and had not returned. I spent the next few weeks trying to concentrate on work, but it was impossible. I was having bad dreams about the cemetery. It was starting to take a toll on my mental health. I barely slept because I was waiting to see that ghostly lady or that man with a painted skull on his face. Or have a dream about the cemetery, and on top of everything, Tommy was still missing. The other night, while rain fell and lightning crashed, I suddenly began to feel overwhelmed. I was trying to get some work done, but I started feeling uneasy. It was the same feeling I had that day we approached the tombstone in the cemetery. It was then that a light shined, and my skin began to crawl, and the hair on my arms started to stand on end. I was horrified to see the ghost of Tommy materialize before me.
"Stay away!"
He shouted.
"Or you will suffer my fate."
I knew he was referring to the evil woman that visited me at night. The next day I told Jessica about Tommy. Though we have yet to find a body, I know his spirit that visited me the night before was real. Jessica told me something unsettling. She told me that she was in bed, and she saw something the night that Tommy disappeared. She saw a dark figure passing by her door in the hallway, and it headed towards Tommy's room. Right there I knew who Jessica saw. Her sinister face maliciously crept in my mind. I was convinced that Tommy followed the woman in the darkness that night, and she led him to his death. Right there I knew where to find what remained of Tommy. I had been there the same night when I woke up at the cemetery gate. There was a house in the cemetery, and you could feel the evil jump out from it. I explained my suspicions to Jessica, and she agreed that we needed to find Tommy. We needed to return to the cemetery. The two of us approached the cemetery gate, and we stared at the house that sent sinister vibes through my body. I could feel the horror that Tommy must have felt the night he died. We slowly made our way to the house, and each step made my heart pound faster. The feel of evil wrapped around me, and it seemed to smother my thoughts. As lightning and thunder crashed, I knew that we were entering the realm of something evil. But we finally reached the house. Both of us were shrouded in fear. The two of us entered the dark house, and immediately felt an evil presence. We made our way down menacingly dark hallways, and the evil feeling grew stronger the further we went. I entered a room down one of the hallways, and realized I was alone. I looked around the room for a while, and I looked out the window, peering out into the cemetery. Suddenly I heard a blood-curdling scream. When I turned around to see what happened to Jessica, I saw the man with the painted skull on his face.
"Come with me,"
he said, and I hesitantly followed him. I followed him through the dark house. My heart was beating fast as we went on, and the feeling of evil grew more intense each moment. I followed the man down a creepy hallway, which seemed to be around the area I thought Jessica's scream came from. The man led me to a room, and we entered it. Intense feelings overwhelmed me as I approached with curiosity. Who was in there? I pondered, hoping to find Jessica. I intrepidly walked through the door, and then I felt a cold chill that made my heart stop and jump into my throat.
Alright, guys. So you see, in this episode, the narrator did not heed the warnings of his friend, and then he suffered the consequences of which he was warned. Guys, I hope you like this new episode of It's Haunted. Happy haunts. See you on the next video, and subscribe to our channel. Bye, guys.